All right, guys, as I mentioned in my second look at fear, right before I go to my jiu-jitsu training, I wanted to hop on here one more time, and I wanted to experience Washed Up with you a second time. Check out my full review of the full EP and my review of Fear with Clint Davis. Go check out clintdaviscounseling.com. But we had a technical glitch where you can't see our facial reaction, our emotions, our facial reaction as we listen to Washed Up. The full breakdown, our commentary is still in the video. But I wanted to have a second look at this because of that technical glitch. And also, though, because I realized at the end of yesterday that these songs, I think you need to let sink in 2, 3, 4 times to really process. There's so much. It's heavy. It's rich on philosophy, psychology, theology. And I want to take this in with you one more time. So go check out NF. Tell me what you think about this new EP, what it means to you. And let's listen. I just love all his tracks. Always curious. I'm always curious what's going to happen because there's such diversity. And that was the case with the EP too. Heavy on the guitar, beautiful singing, a lot of that, a lot of melodic elements, beautiful rap, cadence, flows, and bars. I feel like even though this is just a 6-track EP, there was still a lot of diversity and a full journey. And I think that's beautiful. Choir sounds, like I mentioned when I was reviewing this with Clint, choir sounds like it's going backwards. The mansion looks all burnt up. Everything's foggy. We can't see clear. The keys.
Yeah, I'm starting to wonder if I lost the hunger. Where's that kid I used to be when I was on the come up? Where's that drive I used to have before I had the numbers? Where's that take me as I am? I ain't gonna be no puppet.
NF dressed in all black, the one who had just taken the keys from his other self, coming out of the mansion. So many elements we know. The shovel, the questions he's asking here, fitting to the other tracks of this EP, who I was, and such.
Where's that tell it like it is?
I'm sorry, actually more nods to give me a reason. Tell it like it is. Let the label hush you. Don't let the labels hush you.
Where's that take me as I am? I ain't gonna be no puppet. Where's that tell it like it is? Don't let the label hush you. Where's that yeah, I know I'm rich, but we gon' keep the budget. Where's that I don't really care about the radio? If they don't like the song, then don't play it. I ain't changing nothing. Yeah, where's that person at? You see him, tell him I've been hurting bad. You see him, tell him that I missed the way we used to rap. And I ain't making music anymore if he don't care enough to have my back. Yeah, dropping trash. Wouldn't say that I've been doing that.
I want to go back here. I think this is powerful because he talks about, I don't want to do music anymore if it doesn't have my back. In an intro 3, he was talking about, or Fear was talking to him more so like, I'm the one, who's put you here, who's had your back, who's the reason why you've gotten this far.
Used to rap and I ain't making music anymore if he don't care enough to have my back.
Interesting. This is to me where he sounds like, tell him. Who is he telling us to tell? And it sounds to me like maybe Fear here is telling us to tell an F in white. Tell him, I'm not doing this anymore.
The song, then don't play it. I ain't changing nothing. Yeah, where's that person at? You see him, tell him I've been hurting bad.
You see him, tell him I've been hurting bad. Who is who is them? Is this him telling us, Fear telling us, let NF know that I've been hurting? Or the fans?
You see him, tell him that I missed the way we used to rap. And
Fear telling us to let NF know Fear misses how they used to rap, how Fear and NF worked together rapping.
I ain't making music anymore if he don't care enough to have my back.
Fear saying, I'm not doing this, I'm not making music if you don't have my back.
Yeah, dropping trash. Wouldn't say that I've been doing that, but I'll be lying through my teeth if I said I don't think my moment passed. Yeah, I think my moment passed. Am I on the brink of something great?
Who is that? That's the thing. I thought that Fear was buried and he was keeping anger around. But this looks like white clothing. But he's not burying the NF that was knocked out in the mansion, because otherwise he'd be digging a grave. But he is digging to get to the grave. And here's the map of hope.
Have I lost it? Am I on the verge of making waves? Or am I washed up?
Feels lost. Feels like hope is gone. Like the map of hope is no longer. And who or whatever is buried down there, that's the question. That's why I like that this creates so many questions. It lets us question time and space. Well, if fear is still buried down there, then is this fear speaking? If fear took the keys from NF, I don't know, I guess you could say his conscious self, then what is or who is still buried?
The small rooms, the intimacy, no feeling like it. Those old shoes, nostalgic, I put my feet inside them. The Lord knew I needed this to survive the violence. The raw truth, I'm nothing without the Father's guidance. Who are you? The question that built this whole empire. Your old news, a statement that makes me think retire. The game's new, so eventually we all have to climb it. When wrong move and career is dying. Yeah, can I revive it? Did that check the label gave me make me uninspired? Am I ignorant to think that I still got the fire? Am I hanging on to something I should say goodbye to? Yeah, has my time expired? Did my prime already pass or am I about to find it? Did my peak already happen or am I still climbing? Is that passion that I had gone or am I?
It looks very much like death knocking on his door, literally knocking him out with the same shovel that he used to dig, which is powerful to think that conversation that I think if we are brave enough to talk about our fear of death, our fear of dying. I know a lot of people, they might say they're not afraid because they have hope that they're going to go to heaven. And that was my belief for the longest time. I just focused on that part. I didn't want to talk about the fear of death because my focus was heaven. Some may look at the reincarnation. Others may think that there's just nothing and they find peace in that. So many different beliefs. But sometimes I wish, and that's why I've been drawn to existential theories, existential phenomenology, people like Dr. Irvin Yalom, because sometimes I want to linger a little bit more with the fear of death and with our thoughts on death and with how that impacts how we live. Not to deny the possibility of what's after or faith and all those beautiful things, but to sit in that for a moment. How that makes us feel to see dirt being piled on. That sometimes can be a coping way of dealing with death. People that have dreams or nightmares about being buried alive, or they dream of some loved one in the dirt, or they have weird dreams about worms and something cold or something enclosed. Sometimes that could be interpreted as death dreams, right? Because death makes us think of worms and bugs in the dirt and decay in a closed casket. And if here in this movie, in this music video in Washed Up, dying himself could also be his way of dealing with the death of his grandma and his mom and his friend, right? You see the dead, cold body of a loved one and you deal with death. You're exposed to death often enough. Sometimes we can even start obsessing about it, or we put ourselves in that place. We start wondering. Even my children do this now. My 6-year-old, she'll already now sometimes talk about death and what that would look like, or what comes after, or what the soul is. She asked me last night. Or, questions like, when are you going to die? Or us talking about what she could do, what my children could do with my body when I die. Do we do burial or cremation? What does that mean? I try to explain things in the sense of things never being fully gone. That when we look at the circle of life, like I mentioned in another video, leaves that wither, they're not really, they change a different form, they decay, and they come back into the soil that feeds the same tree and the roots to bring new life. It's part of a cycle, right? We talk about different theories. We look at life and death in different ways to try to make sense of it, to give us a sense of control, because death feels so overwhelmingly huge and uncertain and hard to grasp. And sometimes I think us picturing ourselves in the dirt or thinking about that, or imagining our own death in memorials. I don't know if you've ever done that, but planning your own wake or your own memorial, and what songs you want to play, and what you wish your friends and loved ones would wear, and what you imagine they would say about you when you're gone. Imagining those things, fantasizing about those things is a normal way of dealing with death, especially when you've lost a loved one. So here, NF dealing with his own death could be a way of processing and having to deal with the fact that he's going to die one day. This angel of death looking creature knocking him with the same shovel that he used to bury fear, that fear's using to dig again, and searching or picking up this map of hope. I'm not sure if that's what he was looking for or why he was digging, but that's what he stumbles on. Parts of himself that have died, right? Is this body in the ground still, regardless if this is fear, anger, NF's ego, the super ego, the subconscious. This is all still NF, like I mentioned in my review with Clint Davis. And so something still being in the ground, something that is NF still being in the ground, but NF also possibly still laying on that cold floor in the mansion, but NF also the one digging with the shovel, but NF maybe also this cloaked creature that's about to light the mansion on fire. That's all part of NF. Parts that have died of him, the loved ones he's buried, parts of him that have died with those loved ones, the parts of him that are exhausted and obsessing and compulsive in the mansion of the mind, the parts of him that are still angry and asking questions, the parts of him that are on fire and that are whose head is covered with the sack and can't see clear, can't think, the parts of him that need to burn things down. That's all part of him. This is such a powerful. And this is why this is so intricate, because I wonder if that also is 6 different versions. The part of him in the ground, the part of him in the mansion, the part of him as in fear that's doing the digging, the part of him in the church, and the part of him that is now cloaked and possibly about to set the mansion on fire. And then who else do we got? I don't know. I wonder if there's, we could come up with 6 different parts of NF that are represented in this EP, fitting to the 6 tracks of this EP. It's all part of him. And I think a lot of times we want to separate and we want to say, well, this is fear and then this is me. That's anger and that's me. And that's death and that's me. And this is my religious side and that's me. And it's like, no, that's all part of you. And there's going to be parts where different parts of you have their day. There's going to be days when, and this is what's her face? God, I'm so sorry. Patty Gertie, my girl Patty Gertie. And by the way, completely different music genre, but gorgeous, wonderful woman. And I recommend her merch and her vinyl and the CD and everything. Very different genre. But she, in an interview with her, she spoke about a time when she was, check out my interview with Patty Gertie. She spoke about a time when she was really in darkness, and she allowed herself to fully be immersed in that. No joy, no hope. And she needed that because the joy eventually did come again. But she allowed herself to. She was committed to really being sad, to really allowing herself that. And when she said it, the way she said it so much better. It didn't sound like she's just sitting there going, I'm just going to allow myself to be sad and sulk. No, she was authentic with who she was being in that moment. Depressed, hurting, struggling. And the joy, the part of her that was being joyful came again. But she was true. She was authentic to that experience. It wasn't a facade. It wasn't I'm going to just allow myself to be sad a little bit. I'm going to feel the feelings, right? We say those things. Allow yourself to feel. Let it flow through you. Don't fight it, right? The more you try to learn to sit with these emotions, the more your capacity grows to sit with them. They might not get smaller, but your capacity grows to sit with them. We say and hear these different things, and they're true and beautiful. But the work is actually pretty hard. It's actually really scary to be so present to being a human that you can say, I'm being depressed right now. I'm being afraid right now. And allow yourself to be that, because you are a holistic being, body, mind, and spirit. And there's going to be times when you rage, and there's going to be times when you're hurting. Does that mean we have no self-control and we just get swayed by our emotions? No, I think we all know that can lead to terrible decisions. But it's more about the idea of being true to who you're being. Not that you have to act on every one of those feelings, but being authentic. And NF is being authentic. He's not just real, #real music. True and powerful statement, but this is an authenticity of being that I'm getting from this EP. And here he's authentically being various things in various points in his life. But that pain, that existential question of, was this it? I've had that. I don't know about you. Those of you who are a little older or who have lived some life, you may know exactly what that's like, where you think that was it. My spouse died. I lost a child. My career's at the end. Should I retire? Was this it? Have I reached the peak? And then for some of you, you may feel like you've never had a peak in life. And you know though that you're getting older. You see the wrinkles appearing and you start going, maybe I'm never going to find that mate, that spouse of mine, or maybe I'm never going to be free from these ailments. Was this it? Was this the ride, God? Was that the life that I'm supposed to live? And yes, there could be hope for a healed body and a heaven where there's no more tears and sorrow. And that's beautiful. But it's still understandable to say, God, is this what you wanted? Like, is this it? Is this the end? Who am I? And I just appreciate that authenticity because I know that pain and that those existential fears of seeing your body get older, seeing the days for some random reason going by faster and faster and faster the older I get. And still having dreams though sometimes, still having wishes, still wanting to accomplish certain things. But then also asking, I think that's it. I've had those times in my own life where I thought I've experienced all the life that there is to experience. And that's it. And my sweet husband, very therapeutically, started asking me slowly, lovingly, one question after the other of all kinds of things that I had not experienced yet. And he asked me, have you met your grandkids yet? Have you been to this or that country yet? And he went through this list. I don't recall all the questions. And I said no. And slowly, as every question, I was working through every question, I realized that there was still so much life ahead of me. For some reason, I don't remember what triggered it. I just had these death anxieties. I just felt like, well, I've traveled the world and I've had kids and I've gotten married and have a career. And I just started feeling really depressed. Straight up death anxieties, existential crises, if you will. But reframing, instead of looking at everything I've done, looking at what I've not experienced yet, and a new curiosity of life awakening was therapeutic for me at the time. But I just love the honesty here.
On the brink of something great, or have I lost it? Am I on the verge of making waves, or am I washed up?
Almost sounds like the choir is saying, call me. That's fitting to sorry. This idea of call me. Yeah, call me. Wow, this track makes me just want to jam and sing. It sounds like they're saying call me, which would be fitting to sorry. It makes me think of a relationship. Maybe God saying call me. Like he said, if I'm really being raw and honest, I'm nothing without the Father's guidance. Is this a nod to maybe God saying, call me, like call on me? When we ask questions like, am I on the brink of something great? Or am I washed up, right? Like, have I lost it? Am I on the brink of something great or have I lost it? Am I on the verge of making waves? It shows, first of all, what drives us. I think a lot of us, in different ways, not all of us want the money or the riches. For some, it might be relationship or being a good parent. For others, it might be just making it through the day without too much chronic pain, right? Everyone's greatness will look different and how you measure that. But I think a lot of us want life fully. That's why when we struggle with suicidal ideation or when we struggle with depression, it's because we don't want to live like this anymore, because this sucks, because we want something better, because there's a part of us that feels like this ain't right. There was supposed to be something great. We are drawn to greatness. That's why we look up to people that have the numbers or the talent and the skills or the money to back it up. That's why we look for power figures and for leaders to be better than us. That's why we look to God, because there's a longing in us that there's something bigger and better and more powerful than us. Show me something that's eternal. Also taps into our death anxieties in the face of our human experience, which is all about gravity and entropy and decay and death. Left and right things change, seasons change. We are looking for something that will stay the same. Show me somebody that will love me unconditionally, that will stay in the face of divorce and separation. Someone who's willing to say sorry and call us in the face of death. Somebody that can still make us feel like we're at home and give us peace. In the face of fear, someone that can burn down the mansion of our mind, right? Show me something bigger. And in life, also a longing to be great, to do something special. And I think an F is being very honest here about his desires. He wants to make waves. He wants to be on the brink of something great. But that fear, that question of, but maybe that was it. Maybe I'm washed up. Maybe I've lost it. Maybe I missed the mark. Maybe this was it. And I think that's a very relatable feeling. That question of, can I be better? Can I be greater? What am I even doing? Those are very human, existential questions to ask. And I smile this time around as I'm seeing the mansion on flames, because this giant creature is, said in my review with Clint, maybe this is another version of an F. Maybe this is the father figure stepping up and burning the mansion for him, saying, you know what? I got you. Maybe this is the death coming for him and scaring him, making him think he's going to just destroy everything that is NF's mansion, his mind, is it trauma. Different ways we could interpret that, but I think because it never shows his face, it leaves it up for us to decide. And it also maybe implies that NF still gets to decide, because he's not telling us what the answer is to that question. Yeah, I'm washed up. No, I'm on the brink of something great. This huge mansion that has carried all of NF's journey, that is a picture. If any symbol, if you had to give me one word, one symbol, one thing that is NF, I think a lot of us would say mansion. I think. Probably, right? Maybe balloons and stuff, but mansion. And so for that thing to be in flames, I think that perfectly depicts that nuance. This is either just the end of everything or it's the brink of something great. I am going to go with this is the beginning of something great. And what I mean by that is, and that's because I'm getting to decide, because I have the power to see how I'm going to frame this for NF and for myself. He's going to have to do the work to figure it out for himself. But for me, I'm going to choose to look at this at the beginning, as the beginning of something great. Some might call me delusional. Oh, you're just an optimist. No, I'm going to be realistic about this. There are flames involved. Flames are hot, and it is painful, and it is dangerous, and it hurts. Because the end of something is painful. The death of family, of loved ones hurts. Having to struggle with OCD all your life and finding yourself every so often in that place of deep depression is painful. I speak from my own experience. I speak because of one of my best friends struggles with that. And she is such a strong human being because she hasn't given up. Because every time that those waves come of that darkness, somehow she makes it through. With God's help, with her family, with community, with medicine, with therapy. It takes more than one thing. And that also takes more than one day sometimes. And we got to sit with one another and say, hey, I know this is hard right now, but you're going to make it through. And you get to decide how you reframe this. NF's going to have to decide for his own life. You're going to have to decide for your own. Does your mansion up in flames mean the end of everything or the beginning of something new? And I believe, friend, it can be the beginning of something new. I do believe, and yes, this is me holding on to hope, that there are new things ahead. That all these parts of NF, the part of him in the ground, the parts of him that have died, the parts of him that are fear, the parts of him that are anger, it's all part of the journey. And the reason why I'm confident this is the beginning of something new is because he's still breathing. And even if he no longer makes any songs, and this is kind of him hinting at a potential retirement, then that's okay. Then he gets to be great as a father and as a husband and travel the world maybe. And this is me projecting because I would do that if I had, if the budget is there. He gets to decide what's next. He gets to be a human being. I wouldn't be surprised, of course, if more art comes across over the years, but he gets to decide what this looks like. And he doesn't need to be who he was just to uphold the mansion or just to keep fuel going. That is the fans' critique or people's hate. He does not need to prove anything. Like Professor Easter says, you have nothing to prove. And the powerful thing to me about that phrase is, at least for my personality type, it doesn't make me complacent and it doesn't make me go, cool, I have nothing to prove, so I'm just going to chill and not even try. No, it actually ignites me to want to do better. Actually, when I hear you have nothing to prove, it sets me free to be the best me. Because now the only person I'm going against is myself. My only opponent is me. And maybe, as we've learned through the Avengers Thunderbolt movie, spoiler alert, so skip this part if you haven't seen the movie yet, maybe the idea isn't that learning to be our own opponent is that we have to fight ourselves so much, but maybe accept ourselves, all the parts. Your shadow self, your part that is fear, the part of you that is anger, the part of you that is no longer here, That's okay too if you've changed and if you are a different person now. You are allowed to be, my friend. You're a human being. Who are you being? Be authentically you. That's what matters. And I don't mean that just in the sense of, I feel like this today, I'm being me. I mean authentically being at what you feel in the conviction of your heart, what you long for. You get to decide. I think that as heavy and as sad as this is, as dark as this is, I think this is powerful. I think this is so beautiful. It makes me want to just sing. Call me, call on me. Friends, I want you to know that your story is not over. The mansion of your mind may be going up in flames and you think this is the end. Maybe you're just being reborn. I love you guys. I mean that. I don't know you. I'm a stranger on the internet. I know there's that power imbalance. I forget the professional word for it right now. You know, when you listen to someone or you look up to someone whose words you may appreciate or want to hear their opinion, take this and make it for you what you need it to be. Be encouraged that your story isn't over. That if you're hurting and you're in that darkness where all you can see is the bowl of water and you're obsessively washing your hands, so to speak, or literally, and there's only darkness, I want you to know that your story is not over. Please find community. Please reach out to somebody. Please know that being washed up can also mean that you're going to be washed off and made new. That's powerful, by the way, that it's called washed up. And that play on waves and water because of all the hand washing and the OCD and in fear. My gosh, I'm so glad that I reviewed this again. I feel like some of this, the deeper stuff comes out as you review and as you let it sink in on yourself. What are your thoughts, guys? Would you let me know in the comments? Make sure to subscribe here. Go support NF, of course. Go make sure to check out Clint Counseling again and that full EP review. And tell me what song is your favorite and what this EP means to you. And I will see you on the next ride. Keep dancing in the light, people. Ayo.